How's it going, guys? And welcome to part two of a two-part podcast I had the pleasure doing with VahnManx. In this part of the podcast, we discuss the new box, Crimson Kingdom, and we'll just further discuss kind of how we feel the game's going. But I'm not going to hold you here for long. If you haven't seen part one yet, definitely go check out part one. There's going to be a link to it down in the description. It's on VahnManX's channel, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this.
So let's talk about the new set. What are your thoughts on this set that dropped down?
Oh my gosh, this new set. Honestly, today, I opened the new set for the first time today. I was very busy in the last 2 days, recovering and getting some stuff done that I put aside before the weekend. But this box is crazy. This is, without a doubt, the most impacting box I've seen, and at least since probably Chaotic Comply. Probably since Valkyrie's Rage, actually. So this is like the craziest box in the last four. You have zombies, obviously, coming straight to the forefront. One card in particular comes in mind is Gazuki, the 4-star zombie that basically can like special summon people from your graveyard. There's decks revolving around him now. The red ice cards, so you have like you have red ice. There's just so much. There's the red ice decks coming out of the woodwork now, with powerful, like, there's basically a red ice monster reborn trap. There's the zombie deck that's coming through the cracks that we've been deck testing, and of course there is Buster Blader deck, the which is insane. Dark Paladin. So yeah, there's the Dark Paladin deck through Buster Blader. Dark Paladin being the strongest fusion monster we have in the game. Period. It actually has an effect that does stuff, making fusion decks worth it. And then Rex. Rex is back. Oh my gosh. Rex is a thing again.
2K beater coming in.
Two.
Oh,
isn't it two separate 2K beaters? There's a normal one and effect one?
Is there a 1800 dinosaur? Is there a 1700 dinosaur?
1700 normal dinosaur. I could have sworn. I'm staring at it right now. Cabazal's dinosaur, 1700 attack, 1500 defense. And there's also an effect one too, right?
Which one's the effect one?
I thought there was 2 dinosaurs. I might be wrong. Maybe it is a dragon that gets buffed to 2K. I think Kaiba has 2K.
I know Great Angus is a level 4 beast. That's 1800. But
Correct.
It's not a dinosaur.
Not a dinosaur.
Is that the one you're thinking of or no?
That was probably the one I was thinking of. You are right. There was a 1800 dragon released, though, that is getting buffed to a 2K beater in a Kaiba deck running.
Red Eyes Wyvern.
Yes.
Yeah. Dude, dragons are going to be insane with this set. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what people come up with, but personally, they were already decent. You know, we saw them kind of creep into some of the World Qualifier tournament matches, but I think this set is going to definitely push them over into top tier land.
Oh, of course, and with Vanguard, well, we've been seeing dragons ever since they got the Vanguard of the dragon out of the card trader, and that already put them in contending, and now they've received so much more, and I've completely forgot an entire deck out of this box. We also have the Warriors, either using Dark General Freed or Freed the Matchless General, and the cards that bring them back, Feast of the Wild at level 5, you can special summon 2 level 5 warrior type monsters from your hand or graveyard. That alone is powerhousing warrior decks that I've been seeing, warrior beatdown decks doing crazy work. Honestly, today
we have our first recovery, which is Warrior Turning Alive, lets you target one warrior in your graveyard and add it to your hand. This is the first time we were able to get replenishment of hand from graveyard in this form.
Yeah, that as well. And there's like 4 to 5 at least tier 2 decks, potentially tier 1, that need to be tested out and will basically be getting developed over this next week. It's a pretty crazy box.
I'm super stoked. I definitely think they're putting more thought into the cards they release, especially in the 200 pack boxes. I feel there is I don't feel like they're doing it as mindless as maybe sometimes I think they are, especially when they release some of the mini boxes. But I feel like the last couple of sets have been like strategic, a little more thought put in. So I'm really happy to see that they've started putting in these very strategic support cards for different decks that are currently maybe need a bit more help to get into the top tier meta.
Yeah, and I'm just sifting through the ultra rares again, and there's just so many. There's most of these boxes. I look through them and I see. For a big example for me was the box with Dunames in it. That was Kiara Compliant. No, that was Valkyrie's Rage. There was about 2 to 3 cards in the ultra rare lineup that I cared about in that entire box. And here I'm looking through Soul Resurrection. Absolutely playable. Dark Paladin, absolutely playable. Blazing Apache, being a forefront highest base attack monster, playable. Red Eyes Wyvern, game breaking. Yeah, power creep. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm not sure if Psychic is viable yet, but the reinforced human Psychic Borg has some crazy potential. You can remove cards from play and it permanently gains 500 attack.
Right.
That doesn't even touch Knight of the Red Lotus, which is getting crazy play in Harpy beatdown, regular beatdown decks.
Freaking no kidding. I do have a question about Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman, though. Other than its long name, it's kind of a funky card. Like, it has piercing damage, and don't get me wrong, piercing on a monster with 2,800 attack is interesting. But the fact that it gets its attack boosted for Dragon type in your opponent's control or graveyard is kind of like a weird dynamic, unless you're in a mirror match.
Oh, and I never realized it was just them. That's
if
why
you read, it says must be fusion summon, cannot be special summon. This card cannot attack directly. Very important. Also, this card gains 1,000 attack and defense for each dragon type monster your opponent controls or is in their graveyard. Change all dragon type monsters your opponent controls to defense position. Also, dragon type monsters in your opponent's possession cannot activate their effects. So it's just a weird, like, hey, man, a hard counter to another dragon deck. Maybe they're suspecting there to be mirror matchups up the wazoo with the buff the dragons.
Honestly, I feel like this was a trophy card. It's too much of a meme. I'm reading through this effect, and I had never fully taken it in. It's probably why it hasn't been brought to my attention. This card looks like. Well, they were introducing Dark Paladin and Buster Blader and Buster Blader, the Destruction Swordmaster, just Buster Blader, and I feel like they just said, okay, we've introduced all these. We should put Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman in. I really don't feel like it has too much of a spot in the meta, aside from the fact that it's a generic fusion where it's Buster Blader plus any Dragon type monster, but it's pretty lackluster in the usage sense.
Let's talk quickly about. Okay, so first of all, when Star Demotion got introduced, I was like, "What the heck are you doing, Konami? Releasing a meta level skill right before the World Championship qualifiers."
Meta level. He says meta level. Sure. How about meta defining, breaking, obliterating? The worst part, half of us couldn't, and then there was people unable to farm 3-star demotion before the event even started, and I was in that group.
Right.
You don't even have to. That skill gives me nightmares. I will still be surprised if it doesn't get tweaked. I think it has a tweak coming in its future. It's just a little insane. It is
and from the Paradox Brothers, no less. You know, when they announced Paradox Brothers, I'm pretty sure, like, everybody was like, well, nobody wants these baldies. Give him like Merrick. Where the heck is Merrick?
Where's Merrick?
Where the heck is Merrick? Why the heck are we getting the Paradox Brothers instead of Merrick? And then they do this skill, which was just like everybody that hated on the Paradox Brothers was now like, what the heck is going on? Level 7 viable decks, which were incredibly hard to summon based on the previous metas leading up to 3-star demotion being a thing, now being like, whoa, I can't believe I need more Barrel Dragons. I need Guardian Angel Joan. Please give me these level 7 monsters.
See, at least they have clearly addressed the fact that they actually broke the game with the Dark Magician variant of this 3-star demotion deck.
Oh my god.
And
holy savage.
That was just nuts. That tilted everybody, I'm sure. If you opened up with a Dark Magician Girl and a Sage Stone and a Champion's Vigilance as 3 of your 4 or 5 cards that you had in your first turn, you won the game. You won the game.
That's GG's. GG, that's it. You got nothing on me, man. You got nothing. That was crazy. Every time I saw the Baldies, in tournament play, I was like, holy crap, I am so freaking screwed. And I was just scared because they just win in 2 turns. And I feel that sped the meta up like crazy. And, I do feel that at the core, it is important to have monster-to-monster interactions rather than just be sort of these OTK-based decks. I don't inherently think OTK is very healthy for the meta because it doesn't give your opponent a chance to react. They feel horrible losing because they feel completely helpless that they can't even tech against it a lot of the times because of the fact that, you win in the first turn or 2 if you're lucky. And I don't think that's healthy for the meta. So I'm kind of disappointed how fast Duel Links is moving because I remember playing the physical TCG and getting OTK'd very early on because, again, special summoning in that game is very, very common. And here we're kind of starting to see that again. So I think that my biggest gripe right now with the meta is that it's incredibly fast as a result of 3-star demotion.
Yeah, and it's also already being in a fast format, that having them speed it up more, it gets scary because you have no opportunity to tech against 3-star demotion. They could win in 2 turns. That means in any given game against them, you only have access to 6 or 7 of your 20 cards in your deck. That's like you would have to tech in 3 to 4 cards to consistently draw one of them to actually be able to counter 3-star demotion. And that's just nonsensical. And another thing, and this quickly touches back to the tournament format in the first place, the way their tournament was laid out, it favored fast decks, which really cut about a good 50% of the available decks out of what really stood a chance at making it to the top. If you noticed, although Weevil, a good actual Weevil stall and win and slowly burn you down deck is extremely consistent, wins a very high % win rate. It's won many, many tournaments. So a lot of tournaments I've competed in, there's Weevils in the finals, in the semifinals. You saw no Weevils, actual Weevil decks in the top 10, even top 20, because it's too slow. Some Weevil games take 10 to 15 minutes to play. You physically could not climb using decks like that, and they're really punishing slow but fun decks by doing that, especially with 3-star demotion.
Fun is a strong word on Weevil Burn, all right? Fun is look. I gotta be real with you, Mask. I'm not a fan of Weevil Burn. I feel like it is just one of the most long drawn matches. I absolutely detest playing against it because true. This lockdown with regards to Parasite Infestation with Jade Insect Whistle that prevents you a card draw, okay, which is detrimental. Remember when Time Seal was a huge thing in the TCG and they had to ban it? Yeah. They prevented you from card draw. Not only that, you take 1,000 points of Direct D. I'm not a fan of taking Direct D anytime. And it locks down one of 33% of your field. I absolutely hate that skill with a deep passion.
Yeah, no.
So I'm not in any ways.
Now the Parasite.
I have to disagree with you here. I'm sorry. It's just incredibly cancerous to play against.
I think, and you're only looking at it from the playing against it sense. Where I'm saying sometimes it's fun to know that your opponent is probably about to break their phone. But that being said, That being said, that brings me to the actual Parasite Infestation skill in the game right now. Personally, I actually feel that skill is incredibly broken in what it is. And so much so that when I stopped having luck in the tournament in the first day, I actually started copying and pasting meta decks that weren't necessarily that skill reliant and putting them on Weevil with Parasite Infestation because those parasites are that broken. When you finally top deck that Parasite on your opponent naturally, which is going to happen, they lose a draw in a vital moment and take 1,000 damage. And that is huge. If you actually compare it to what every other skill in the game does, that is potentially one of the most impactful skills in the game. I played Beatdown Parasite Infestation. I played Parasite Infestation on Relinquished. And these decks were doing work. Although I would imagine I tilted, so I could not even imagine playing against Relinquished with Parasite Infestation. That's the worst.
Damn. Anyways, I was super triggered every time. Like, I almost broke my phone. I slammed it against the bed, which is a good cushion, by the way, for any of you guys who rage out. Never captured on stream, but it was definitely just every time against. Mind you, I managed to get into the World Qualifiers, beating a YuGiOh on my 5th game with Harpies, and I'm pretty happy about that.
That's actually that's an accomplishment.
Amazing. But back to 3-star demotion, we got, part of the reason I brought this up, other than the fact that it's kind of game breaking, we got 2, not 1, but 2 more cards that work with 3-star demotion in Buster Blader, the Destruction Swordsman, which is the 7-star that if a monster your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, target one of those destroyed monsters, equip it to this card. Once per turn, you can send 1 monster card you control that is equipped to this card to the graveyard. Destroy all monster your opponent controls with the same type as the monster sent to the graveyard. Very interesting card. That's number 1. Number 2 is, I'm going to get this completely wrong, Endymion, the Master Magician. I'm ESL. Don't worry about it. You can special summon this card from your hand or graveyard by removing 6 spell counters from a magical citadel of Endymion you control. If summoned this way, target 1 spell card in your graveyard. Add that target to your hand. Once per turn, discard 1 spell card. Then target 1 card on the field, destroy that target. Dude, are you kidding me? Dude, this is like Desert Twister.
Yeah. Honestly, and I was like, I'm so glad he's trying this name because I couldn't even hit it, and I'm not ESL. But this one, and both of them are just summon. I guess at least it's if you summon it this way, so you won't be able to target a spell card in your graveyard if you 3-star demotion this out. But once per turn, it's a Desert Twister.
I think the trigger. I think. Like if summoned this way, target 1 spell card in your graveyard. Okay, once per turn. Yeah, I think the once per turn does not apply. Didn't like you can still use that effect even if you didn't special summon it.
Correct.
If I understand correctly, this is a period.
Yeah, for sure.
So that part of the effect in and of itself makes this card definitely a 3-star demotion viable. So I'm personally extremely blown away by that, the fact that these 2 cards are going to shake up 3-star D.
I think Buster Blader, the Destruction Swordmaster, is going to be the big one of that. I'm just reading over it again, and it's actually insane. If any time a monster your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect from either side, if it's a suicide destruction or if it's they had to destroy it with one of their own card effects, I'm thinking like Assault on GHQ against Mildex and whatnot. Target one of those destroyed monsters, equip it to this card. And then it's like most decks run similarly attributed monsters, of course. Like same type. The types are very broad. If you're running many things, Harpies, all wind. Are you kidding me? You kill a Harpy with this Buster Blader, which you can 3-star demote out, and all of a sudden you can snap your fingers and blow every wind monster up on the side of the board? Oh my gosh.
Type is the sub-classification, right? It's not the element.
I had that backwards.
So it actually makes it a little less powerful.
Okay, you'd
because
actually
of the fact that like for example, Harpies, if it's Wing Beast, then you're going to be out of luck on Harpies, but it's not as powerful as we initially thought.
No, you're totally right on that one. I'm actually so glad you clarified that and that you're right, because it just makes me go because if it was, I was thinking Element then, right? Element, the top? Yeah. If it was Element, that would have been so broken.
Yeah, absolutely. So these 2 cards I think I'm pretty excited about because, again, it's going to make 3-star D a much more different dynamic. I do like to say, I will give Konami credit that I saw a variety of decks during tournament play. You know, I mean, people complained about facing a lot of Harpies. I felt like in the final qualifiers, there was a lot more diversity in terms of the deck I was playing against. It was never like, oh, another Harpies deck. It was like, sometimes I played against handless, sometimes I played against dragon decks. I saw enough variety that I'm like, I'm really glad this worked out this way because I was not expecting this.
Oh, that was one of my favorite parts about the tournament. The actual dueling experience was so enriched through diversity. The Harpies were only very apparent within like the first 6 hours of day 1, and they were just countered so hard they sort of dropped out, and that's where that just allowed all the diversity to flood in. I saw Mako beat down a lot. Obviously handless, tons of different 3-star demotion decks. Weevil, tons of Weevil, and then Relinquish made its way back in different forms. Harpy Relinquished, and just regular Relinquished, and even Bluff Trap. There was lots of Bluff Trap I played against, and it really was such a better experience than trying to grind your way from Plat 3 to King of Games in any given season, where you usually end up going against the same deck 4 out of 5 of your games to get into King of Games.
Right, yeah. So mad props on that front. Actually, I was curious to know from you, when did you discover Handless was being played by Decade, and how did you react to that situation during the tournament finals?
Well, actually, Decade leaked his Handless deck to his Discord users about a week before the final qualifiers, because he hyped it up in a video on YouTube, and one of my viewers gave me that deck. And he didn't release the version that he had spiced up, you could say, for the final qualifiers. The one that he released on his Discord was a sort of like a not as good version. But I was deck testing that Handless deck in the days leading up to the final qualifiers, actually, and ran it quite a bit. It was not nearly as good as the one that he basically released it on the end of day 2. He was streaming on Twitch, and he said to his users, if we get to 500 viewers, first he said, if we get to 1,000 viewers, I'll reveal the deck that Kaiba Boy has been using the whole tournament to get him into first place. And everyone's going crazy. Wow. They're super hype. I'm currently streaming at this time, and he then just said, okay, fine. He only got to about 230. He goes, fine, if we get to 500, I'll do it. And somebody comes into my stream, and they just go, Mask, we really want to see this deck. Please host Decade. And I did. I hosted Decade for about 300 viewers, boosted him into the 500s, and he held up to his side of the bargain, and he showed us the Handless deck. And that's where I got the deck immediately then from.
I see. So did you try running it during the finals?
I ran it from almost then on, actually, and it was phenomenal. Oh. It was phenomenal. Okay. I ran it at least 75% of the time from halfway through day 2. It really, really works well in that format. It's very, very fast. It has a solid win rate. Its win rate wasn't as good in the last day because everyone knew about it, but that's where Decade's success came from. This was a deck that no one really knew anything about, and it just slaughtered day 1. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the genius with regards to this, I think, is a point I definitely want to bring up and emphasize, which is the game definitely favors you if you're able to be good enough at deck building to make, decks that counter the meta, as we saw here clearly. And I think that's how it should be, because if everybody can win with Harpies, then you're just going to have these boring type matchups where everybody's mirror matching and whatnot. So I think that it's always good to be thinking about, hey, if everybody's playing this, what if I play the opposite? What if I come up with something different? And the game encourages that. And I think that point in and of itself is really healthy because we want to see variety. So mad props that this worked out this way. I don't know if it was intentional from a game design standpoint, but it's definitely awesome to see that if you're able to be creative and you put the work in, you can really get an upper edge on your opponents.
Oh, that absolutely. And it was really nice to see. I actually was, one of my biggest worries going into the final qualifiers was, am I just going to be playing a mirror matchup non-stop? Like, that was it. Like, I do not want to be playing a mirror matchup non-stop, and I was just so glad to see that that's not what happened.
Yeah, exactly. So I was definitely in shock when I saw Handless. I was like, what the heck is this deck? And I kicked myself for not having enough Flash Assailants, because I only got 2, and I'm like, 2's enough, we're good. And I was like, damn, just that much less consistent in order to be able to play it. But, mad props again for the innovation from the kid and getting that out. And his story, I think he revealed this on his Twitch stream, but his story, like, he's gone through some hardships. So even more mad props to him for, like, being able to, like, spend the time despite having his personal life kind of in an interesting place.
Oh, and he puts a lot of work into it too. One question and it's been one kind of on my mind is, have you heard anything? So, the people who qualify for these has Konami released any information on how they're getting there? Are they flying them out? Is it on their own dime? Are they covering expenses? Do we have any information on any of that stuff?
The only thing I know, so I think Guns Blazing mentioned this on part of his. So you got like an email kind of thing or like a link to like, congratulations, hey, you ranked really high in this tournament. But from the research that my viewers had done, I was told that there's verbiage in the kind of rules of the game that specify that their trip to Japan was going to be paid for. I'm not sure if hotels and accommodations are going to be paid for, but that the flight over was going to be covered.
Right.
And this is what Creative Timmy told me as well. But yeah, beyond that, I'm not really sure. I would imagine it's like you're flying 16 people, the game's making a killing. Like, come on, just give them the all expense paid trip over there. I mean, it's so hard to get qualified, and there's so few people that manage to get in that it's like, I feel like this should just be a goodwill gesture for the dedicated players.
Yeah, and I also feel that that's a point that should have been a little better advertised from their point too. I feel like people should have really known what spot they were fighting for to find out whether or not it's something they'd even be able to do. Like, it would be a shame to see someone like Creative Timmy when August rolls around to not be able to make the trip due to things like, because he's under 18, are they also going to pay for, or I don't actually know his age at all, because he's young, you said, are they going to pay for someone else to go with him? If that, they definitely should if he's a certain age, because they open their game up to everybody. It's not like they put age restrictions on the competition, and these are all things that shouldn't be in a gray area to us in a competition like this.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see how it pans out. I'm not sure yet. But again, I feel like this is the least they could do given the type of situation that they're in. I do commend them for changing up the location. I know there was a lot of controversy about this on the subreddit. A lot of people, Reddit is known to be, relatively controversial at times, but I feel it was a good call moving this to Japan. And also it's the motherland for Yu-Gi-Oh,
And that's
so
it.
I'm actually kind of happy that it was in Japan.
If I were to pick a place,
negative about it.
Yeah, if I were to pick a place where it should be in Japan. That's where Yu-Gi-Oh comes from. As far as controversy, I would understand controversy in the sense that you're giving into a quota, like obviously terrorism is what's occurring in London. It's very unfortunate, and you are giving into it by pulling your event from said area. But at the same time, they're just trying to be responsible. It's unfortunate, but it was a good move on their part, I think. And I'm excited for it to be in Japan as well. The motherland of Yu-Gi-Oh! Exactly how you said it.
Here's my question for you. What are they gonna give the world champion?
Oh my gosh.
Both in-game. I'm actually more curious about what they're gonna give him in-game, but what do you think the final prizes are gonna be?
Well, that's
Is it gonna be a limited edition card that you can't play? I don't think that makes sense for a virtual game that you can't really show off. I would assume like a mat, maybe a card back, but it's, the part of the thing I loved about the TCG World Championships is you got this limited edition card that you knew like 3 other people in the world had, right?
Damn.
That could not be used in a duel, but you could physically hold it and be like, yeah, I pwned these guys to get this.
They certainly have to give the winner a mat, an icon, and a card back. And I think that is the virtual representation of the card you just described. They certainly need a world championship icon, mat, and card back. And everybody who is there should also get like a I participated version of the mat, icon, and card back. And I suppose, well, I know there's not cash prizes for Yu-Gi-Oh! And that goes right back to, pretty sure that goes back to the roots of how Konami actually acquired the game in the first place. So that kind of out of game prize, that one's tough. I don't really know what they could give somebody. But in game, I can't imagine other than gold, prismatics, ultra rares, prismatic super rares, and icons and game mats. Like that's the extent of their ability to give someone something, is it not?
Yeah, well, I mean, so the reason why I asked you this is because back in the day when I played the TCG, there was Shonen Jump Championship prize cards that were legal in the game. And what I meant was Crush Card, for example, came out this way. Gold Sark came out this way. A bunch of other cards, I think Dark End Dragon came out this way. And these were cards that you could absolutely use in the game, which were insanely powerful. Some of them were insanely powerful, especially Crush Card Virus. And I don't think they're going to do this, but wouldn't it be insane if they like let you, have access to a new card before everybody else, and you could like play with it?
Oh my
I think that would just
gosh.
be
Oh my gosh.
insane. Even if it's like not a powerful card, even if it was just like, hey, it's like a 1700 vanilla beater, but you got access to play it. Which brings us to another question, which is you on stream had played against some people which had unreleased cards. Do you know much about that situation? Was it because you were playing against devs, or what was going on there?
Most of that was just it was in the first couple builds of the game. There was a lot of people with the ability to a lot of people who modded their APKs and not necessarily either modded them or I mean it had to have been a modded APK, and they had access to. They just data mine the game as well, and that's where we get our data mining. It's the same people who we get our data mining from on Reddit still. They're only able to data mine the game now. Before, they were able to data mine it and unlock it. So they were able to. So when we go on Reddit and we see those dump files of people showing off the cards that they found, before they were able to take them, put them in the game, and still play on the game, and that's what that was.
No way, that's crazy. Okay, that clears that up. But I mean, just in like. The fact that you could maybe play with a card before everybody else, I think would just be like a really cool experience for the world champion or whatnot. There's a lot they can do there, so I'm interested to see how the World Championships play out. I'm definitely going to be keeping my eyes fixed on it. I hope they do a good job streaming this event because there's be a lot of Duel Links players that want to see the World Championship final brackets and see how they play out.
Absolutely. No, they definitely need to get it live on a couple platforms, and everyone's going to want to. I want to be there. I have friends who made it that are going, and I'm so excited to see them compete.
Yeah, and Decade has not done a face reveal, has he?
I don't think so. I certainly don't know what he looks like. If it's out there, I feel like I would know. So I would assume not.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm so sad that Guns Blazing didn't make top 2, because then he would be forced. His hand would be forced. You know what I mean?
The Guns face reveal.
Oh my God. We gotta get him drunk. You gotta get him drunk, okay? And then just webcast that for everybody to see, and then we'll have done it, Reddit. We'll have done it. We'll have dethroned the mysteriousness that is Guns Blazing.
I'll have lost any contact or chance at maintaining friendship, but we'll have done it. Probably worth it.
Oh my God. All right. So we're almost hitting up the hour mark. I think we got about 4 minutes left before we hit the hour mark. I think maybe we have some concluding thoughts that you want to talk to your viewers about, and we'll kind of end it here.
To be honest, I'm excited where the direction the game's going in, and more as of right now, super excited about the fact that they managed to release a box that didn't harm the current meta, but seems to be adding 4 or 5 decks to it. And I'm pretty pumped to just get to testing them.
Awesome. Yeah, personally, I definitely feel the game is in a really good spot right now. With regards to this podcast, you guys can let me know, but I had a lot of fun doing this with MasKScarin here. And so if you want to see more of this, definitely share it out. We'll definitely have a way to circulate this. But I enjoy talking with the community members about things like this. I think that, oftentimes with our YouTube channels or even our Twitch, it's us, it's you, it's you, Mask, or it's me kind of just talking for, hours potentially on end. And so having that dynamic where you can get different opinions, different stories that come out from interactions, I'm always a big proponent of in terms of building out this community. So if you guys are in line with that vision and want to see more of these, please share it out and give us some feedback on what you think about the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. No, for sure. I'm definitely on board for doing more of these. I enjoy getting the different perspective of the game and sort of giving myself the opportunity to think about it this critically as well. You don't always just sit down from your day-to-day grind and actually think about what's going on in the game to this extent as well.
Absolutely. Cool, man. All right, so that concludes. You want to give any personal shout-outs at the end here?
Personal shout-outs. My personal shout-out simply goes out to Tutpup. Tutpup placed rank 3 in EU. Buddy, we're all rooting for you. You got to win these worlds. And I mean, I can't finish off anything without saying, guys, stay classy.
Personally, my shout outs were again mad props to Guns Blazing, mad props to Decade for bringing the community of decks together, mad props for Mask for agreeing to do this and for sharing your valuable insight with me. And again, thank you to everybody in the VahnManx Nation and the MasKScarin Nation for tuning in to this podcast. And until next time, this is VahnManx here and
MasKScarin.
And we will see you guys next time.